Hi, my name is Francis Fox, and I hope I'm going to end up being your favorite psychic spy. That's the way I introduce myself in Spanish. Um, Americans, Anglos, are more impressed with government trained remote viewer. Why on earth we respect anything that the government has done in the last 30 years, I do not know. I think the reason it's respected is because people don't know, but they don't know because they can't think, and I'm not going to go into that today. Um, My intention with this chat, which gets converted into podcast, so if you want to recommend it, we are on Spotify and we are on Apple. Um, my intention is to share extra information. A lot of what I share is stuff that if you look hard enough, long enough, and go into many different specialties, you could find that piece of information. What I bring to the table in regards to that is that very few people can go that deep into different disciplines to get that deep information. But it's there, it's there. So I have, because of my training, the ability to kind of soar above huge volumes of information. I'm an information expert, and then glean what I think is important, which is what I'm sharing with you. And then, because I'm a researcher, I was trained to be a researcher since a child with the scientists and the military in the other dimensions. I bring a lot to the table of new discoveries, things that have not been understood. The original Lord's Prayer, with the information that I have in the book that I am totally blocked in getting out because of my enemies, you understand the original Lord's Prayer because it's referring to the human energy system, the spirit, but in ways that you can actually use without needing an intermediary between you and your God or you and what it is that you want to achieve. So I'm a bit slow today because I think it's landing on me the extent to which my enemies, the Cuban political mafia, the extent to which they have gone, and I'm not sure that they're not still trying now to get me classified as mentally ill so that they can kind of get me put away. But I don't think you can do stuff like that so easy. And I think that there needs to be evidence in behavior, and there is no evidence in that. There is not the type of evidence, but it's very scary. But basically, it's the same thing, the setups that they did with Trump, and now that they're doing to some of the people that have been chosen as cabinet members or to work in the government. And this whole gets issue, where they did a honeypot operation, basically using people like they used me before to set up people. Um, and it's still going on today. I think that my enemies are gathering every day to figure out how it is that they can take me down. They've already done a lot of and paid a lot of money to have me unalived via black magic, and it hasn't worked. And they're always discussing kidnapping me for a few hours and maybe reprogramming me. It's really tiring. So President Trump, I noticed in the news that they're picking up people having to do with sex trafficking in New Jersey. Now, that is far away from Miami, Florida, but you got planes and you got people. Can you please deal with the Miami issue, which you know is a big issue? Because it's getting really hard um, to keep my head above water emotionally. Not that I've ever lost it. Okay. I mean, I can get loud and very emotional. I'm a Cancer, and we are the most emotional of all the signs. But other than getting loud and very emotional and screaming or weepy, it doesn't go beyond that. But you know what? I'm tired. So can we please trolley along? This has been a lot of years. And can we get this taken care of? So Ali Moreno says she's living in New Jersey, which is where they got them. I think that's going to be happening across the country, but can we please have it happen here? I really like doing this chat, and I really like giving that information about all the dark black magic, because this is not novel. This is new to people that did not think it was important to know what was going on in the other dimensions. And it is absolutely new for this to be discussed openly in a platform. Now, many years ago, I said I was so angry about the black magic and what they did to me, to my children, to my business, that I said that before I died, I was going to release everything that I knew about black magic, but to the supposedly nice people. Well, I'm doing that now. I'm sharing stuff with you that I never thought I would share with anybody, including my therapist. And I'm doing it. Does that mean that I'm going to die soon because I said I was going to do it right before I died? No, it doesn't mean that. I think it means that there is supportive energy for this, and that there really is not any time to be wasting on things that are not as important as understanding the other dimensions, which is where cause resides, which is where reality is created, and what is in an uproar now. Those other dimensions are where the galactic aliens that are our enemies, that know all about us in those dimensions, that's where they play and they manipulate. Where it's not about sex trafficking, it's simply about controlling human beings. It- so really, for me to get the information out now is like crazy. On the other hand, my plan is to make a difference, and to release it afterwards when everything has come tumbling down doesn't make any sense. And because I don't have an intention to die, I don't have any intention. I won't even have to defend myself having to do with mental illness, because there has to be some parameters. And I went to the best, supposedly, psychologist in the University of Miami. I went to the mind control psychiatrist, the number one in the Americas, and none of them said I was mentally ill. They said I had dissociative disease, which happens when you have severe trauma. Bingo, that's exactly whatever. I've never gotten out of control. But it is kind of scary to know that there are people plotting full time to see if they can't make that happen. So, but that's where we're living today. This is not, I'm talking about me. I'm not talking just about me. I'm talking about my experience in a country that we are supposedly very Christian and we are very fair, and things like that don't happen here. It does happen here. It happens a lot. There was 10,000 kids in the program I was in, and there were several programs. Those kids are not supported either. No, not kids anymore. Did those programs end? This is not, believe me, just about me. But give me a second to think and see where it is that I want to shed some light on today. What dark corner of the universe, maybe not necessarily my universe. Okay. What we call miracles is really the power of intention. And when, here I go to the black magic again. Okay. If you guys get tired of me talking about that, you're going to have to let me know. So, when they do black magic rituals, there is an intention. They don't just say destroy this person. They have specific, very specific intentions to get them what it is that they're looking for. And there's a ritual done, and the rituals are to focus and vitalize that intention. And they kill a lot of animals. And I'm not exactly sure how that translates into vitalizing that intention of that black magic. Or if those killing of animals are like sacrifices to the beings that are the ones that make the magical things, the black horrible things happen. I don't really know. I probably should try and ask one day and find that out. What's the direct link between the killing of animals and the blood and the making that black magic happen? What's the dynamics? Not the link. It's linked. What's the dynamics? How does that work? I don't really know. But what you should know is that it is, if there's no intention and it's not focused, that doesn't happen. So, what is that saying about you and magic and miracles? That if you can learn to focus your mind to vitalize an intention that you have, you can create magical outcomes. But you have to have the focused intention. You cannot be multitasking, which means there's several vectors shooting off of your energy field at the same time. Each one of them is vitalized and energizing something. But when there's several, it's not the same as when you have only one intention vector, like the mother who sees their child underneath a car. She's not thinking about what to make for dinner. She's not thinking about the fact that she maybe should have worked out in order to be able to accomplish the getting the car off a kid. Her intention is to save her child. And she does it. And we call it a miracle because we don't understand. And then you have, of course, the martial arts who's looking at a block of concrete or a piece of wood that his hand cannot break. And yet we all accept that because he's a martial artist and he trained, that he can break it, and he does. Not the first day, not the second, maybe not the first 6 months. I don't know how long it takes, but he breaks it. What breaks it is the vectoring of his energy field and the vitalizing it with his intention and his focus. That is what breaks that concrete block or the board. And you can do the same thing. The problem is that multitasking is highly valued, and just focusing on one thing, the Buddhist way of being happy, excuse me, they're probably working on my eyes right now for me not to be able to see what they're doing. Um, we have not valued single pointed focus, which, by the way, has a name. It's called the state of ekagrata, and it means single pointed focus. That is how you achieve magic. That's how you achieve a masterpiece. You compose a piece of music that's going to be eternal, last forever. You could reach the top of your field or something because you had single pointed focus. That's what you wanted. You didn't want 10 different things. You wanted that. 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 So neurotic people that know how to control their focus can get a lot. And if we take the example of Michelangelo that did the Sistine Chapel, incredible art. He was very neurotic. Now, how do I know? I have never read anything about him, but I did sketch his energy field. And he had a lot of stomach aches because he was neurotic, thinking about a lot of different things. And yet, when it came to his art, he wasn't thinking about anything but his art. Now, I don't know if what I'm saying next is gossip and if it's accurate or it's not accurate, but supposedly Einstein, who we think was the next best thing since God, and I would support that absolutely, he wasn't such a great companion in terms of marriage. He was very focused on himself. Okay, I can certainly see that, and I can certainly get it. And what he achieved, we won't forget through the centuries. We will not forget him or Michelangelo. But and I'm sure that Einstein was probably neurotic. I don't really know because I've not read up on him. But there's stuff, you have to figure out where it is that you want to be in that range. If you want to be a person who is balanced, maybe you're not going to achieve the highest level in the field that you're in because that would require so much focus that you would lose the vitalizing of other parts of your life. But that's a very boring thing that I just said. And I know that everybody needs to be totally stimulated or they will just click off. And that is part of the problem. We want stimulation, and the outside stimulation reduces the vitalizing of our vectors. I loved it when Elon Musk said that everybody that worked for a company was like a vector. And I don't remember the rest of the statement, but he's correct. Everybody that works for you for a company needs to have a vector that is vitalized by their intention, and that intention needs to correspond to the intention of the company, or let's say like the president. his intention. He nominates somebody for a position, and the president and this person he nominates should have the same intention. And the person that's being nominated should have a vector focused and pointed at that intention and be vitalizing it, not looking around to seeing how they can position themselves. I liked it when Trump put Elon and the other gentleman whose name I could never remember to pronounce in charge of efficiency. Why was I happy with it that it be two people? Elon does everything by himself, but now he's got a second guy because I think that Elon has to be energizing a lot of really important things and to get caught up in a lot of the detail that would have to be involved in this particular responsibility maybe wouldn't have been such a great idea for the country, for Trump, for me. I have a lot of stock in his company. So I thought that was a good idea. Like natural resources, using them properly, not throwing a lot of natural resources. I consider Elon Musk to be like a natural resource of this country, and getting him all tied up with a ton of details, which he appears to be very good at. But he's got several other companies. Hello, I have stock again. I'm going to say, and Tesla. We don't take the eye off the ball there. So that's a good idea. So what am I saying here? You should look at your life. I have in the what 50 years in which I've had housekeepers and many times live-in housekeepers. Um, we've been through a lot of different people that have worked for us, generally very successful, but every once in a while somebody would come along and they were not vitalizing their vector in terms of their job in my home and with my family was not for my family to be well and taking care of the children. There was another vector out having to do with positioning themselves in terms of perhaps stealing. Um, stealing. Let me just say it openly. So they didn't have the complete focus because they had another focus. Okay, stealing, which takes me to the issue of survival. When people are in survival mode, their intentions totally change. And if you can use an example of, let's say, a well-to-do woman or man who pairs off with somebody that has a lot less or doesn't have very much, like a well-to-do man that would fall in love with like an immigrant that has just really not established themselves yet, and they really are in love. There's no issue. That's not the issue. The issue are the intentions. The man is established, has his home, has his stuff, da, 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 da. His intention is that stability and also include a loving female in his life, or male if they're gay. I'm not going to get into that. I'm not getting caught up in that. I think there's nothing the matter with being gay, but that whole thing has really gotten really wild. Um, so you have this man who's well positioned, and then you have this person who he loves, and she loves him. The vectoring, the prioritizing, the intentions. This man he's not into survival. He's into protecting what he has, making more, da, 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 da. And this person is into survival. This person has a mother back in her country that needs every penny this person sends for food. I think it's very sweet that most of the immigrants that I have come up with and met and worked with and come to love, most of them come here to better themselves economically, and most of them send a significant amount of their money back to their country for their families. Not so sure how good that is for this economy, but I don't have to deal with that kind of stuff. But that intention, survival, with a person who doesn't have that, doesn't work. It will make the relationship very difficult because survival is always going to win because that's how humans are constructed. So I can use the example of I have been well off for what I consider well off, lived well, earned good money, driven good cars, lived in good homes, good neighborhoods. But I don't have an issue of having to have people around me that are just like me or that have a lot of money, da 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 da. I don't have that problem. But it is a problem when you are well off and you have friends who are not. And it's not a question of kindness and it's not a question of compassion and understanding. It's a reality question. What are the priorities? And there's the whole vectoring of your intention. What are you energizing? You're energizing a relationship that feels good. You love the person. They're sweet. You're great. They're intelligent. You can have great conversations, whatever, whatever, whatever. And then you have this other person that is into the whole survival thing or cannot go to this type of a restaurant that you're suggesting going to or where you're going to pick up the tab, which is not an issue. It's not part of their life. Okay. But what is the intention? This person is not going to be energizing the intention of having a great conversation with you and of continuing the relationship, da 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 da, because they're busy trying to figure out their place in a situation in which they're not comfortable and doesn't correspond to where they are socially or economically. It's not the issue of whether the person who has more thinks less of this person. It has to do with baseline intentions. So, what I have understood in the last couple of years is I am choosing not to have a relationship with people that are still living in survival mode because it doesn't work. And it's not a question of I could absolutely give them money, and I have. It's not an issue. They get into trouble, I can absolutely help them out. But it's completely we're pointed in different directions. I'm not there. I'm in survival mode with the Cuban political mafia, but I'm not there in terms of the rest of my life. So understanding how important intention is in your life, the whole issue now, which is thank God that Elon Musk, the poster boy for the new age business model, thank God for him, because Trump is in a different place. He's comfortable there. He's fine. Elon is like the people. Well, he came from people. He didn't have money. He almost went bankrupt, whatever, whatever. But understanding this in terms of business, the intention of the companies. So when I went to Cuba, when I was 11, 1960, I don't know if it was 59, I think it was 59, September 59. We lived with my grandmother and she had a very large apartment, not luxurious, but it was very large. And two of my aunts lived there. Two of my mother's sisters lived there. This mother, by the way, was my stepmother, but I didn't know it at that point. I didn't know she was not my mother. I should have known from everything she did to me, but I didn't. And these two women didn't do anything. And I was curious because I came from Germany and my father was military and everybody basically kind of worked and everybody kind of whatever. And then I get there and you have these middle-aged women and they're not doing anything. So I asked one day, what is it that they do? Because it wasn't like they did gardening. They just didn't do anything. And they said, no, they have government jobs. And I went, oh, when do they go? No, they don't go. They have what's called a botella. So I'm going to put this here. And I'm sure there's a reason for it being this word. Botella means bottle, a bottle. So I don't know why they would call this a bottle. But in Cuba, in 59, when I got there, a lot of the government jobs were botella. The persons knew somebody that got into power and they would give out jobs where the person didn't even need to show up for the job. So my two aunts had jobs with the government, but they didn't have to show up because it was a botella. It was like a gift. So certainly no vitalizing of the agencies that my two aunts worked for. But here, let's go to what seems to be happening in the United States. What is the intention of all of these people working in these government committees and departments? What is the intention of everybody there? Has that been clarified? No, you have a job as an accountant in this department. Okay, so I can just do the numbers, but there has to be a bigger intention having to do with that department. And there has to be something of a commitment. And unfortunately, because we're getting into the age of Aquarius, today the commitment has to feel good in your heart, not just your pocketbook. You have to feel good about what you're doing. And a lot of people are still, most people are still just trudging along in jobs that were okay before, but are not going to work now when the rules of the planet have changed and nobody sent out a memo. Age of Aquarius, different energies. You're supported if you're this way, and what you were in the age of Pisces, totally different. You were supported with these other characteristics. Well, nobody told you to pick up these new characteristics, which is why it's so great that Elon Musk is such a public person and people can see him as a role model, which he should be, and he is. Now we need a female that does that. And I'm not this whole females need to be equal. It's so funny because I was a mind control slave, used as a courtesan and a prostitute. And in the 60s, when they had the movement and the burn the bra, I said, I don't need to do that. No, I didn't need to do that. But then I wasn't really aware of what a slave I was as a female. But we should get some female that would be able to be like a poster girl for this new age of Aquarius, so that the young people can look and go, he loves what he does, and look at all the money he's making, rather than my father or my uncle or this job I have. Well, yeah, I'm making okay money, but I don't love it. I think maybe I need to love it. And that's exactly what needs to happen. What's the intention when we get people into jobs that don't make any sense, when they work for companies where the intention of the company is not to make life better for the people that buy their products? The intention is to make that sale, which is why many years ago, when more people started to buy vitamins, I said, you need to buy the vitamins from a company and a store that really wants for you to be healthy. Because at that time, the big pharmaceutical stores where you bought all your toiletries, they all went into vitamins and minerals. They couldn't care less about your health. That was another two aisles of product where they could take your money. You can't vitalize it. And so I guess here's where I'm going to tell that story, and then we'll go on to doing our mantra session. And if you've been following me forever, then you probably have heard this story. But it's about the power of intention having to do with your medicines and your food. My first office was in the office of a wonderful medical doctor, Dr. Kirby Hotchner. He was the only one who did alternative medicine in Miami. I think he's still here. I haven't seen him for a while. And my office was at the end of the hall, and he was walking down the hall towards me, and he had a bottle in his hand. He wasn't holding it up, he was just holding it. And I looked at it, and by the time he got to me, I said, my God, what's that bottle? There is gold dripping off of it, obviously the other dimensions. And he said, I wanted to ask you about this. This is a new product, and it seems to be really working with my patients. And I said, what's it for? Weight loss. I said, order me a dozen. He did. And I took them, and it really worked. And then after several months, it stopped working. So I didn't say anything. And, we were on to other stuff. And he came to me one day and he said, how are you doing with that weight loss product? The one that was radiating gold, was actually dripping. I said, it doesn't seem to be working. He said, it's interesting because it's not working for the other people either. It kind of like stopped working. I went, okay. He said, can you do me a favor and check it? Sure. When I checked, when the owner, the producer of that particular weight loss product created it, he didn't have any other products. He had one product that he really believed in, that product. He was vitalizing and energizing that product with his intention that people lose weight. And they did. And he was selling a gazillion of them. And when he saw that, unfortunately, he said, oh, if I make 4 more products, I'll have 5 products multiplied by a gazillion. He took his vitalizing of the product to lose weight, the vectoring of his mind towards that product. That vector collapsed and it got divided, but particularly in the other 4 products, because this one was already making him money. And none of them had magic. He diluted his intention. And so I started to tell people, you need to purchase things in places whose intention is for you to be well, for you to be okay. You don't take the same product from a store that is only there to take your money, because that energy goes into that product. Buy it from a health food store where the product is not only backed by the person who created that product, but also by the store that is selling it. And that takes me to another story, but this is shorter. The shaman that I know from the mountains in Colombia, he is an Arhuaco, and he's a mamo, which means one of the top people in the tribe. They're very community. They wear all white, and the men have big, tall, I mean, like this tall white hats. They're very impressive. He was like 6'2", plus that tall hat. My God, very interesting when I used to take him out to go different places in Miami. So I don't remember what was going on. And he said to me, you can turn anything into medicine, anything that you eat or drink. And I went, teach me that. This was many years ago. So he said, well, you just have the food that you have in front of you. And you just do a prayer that you want for this food to heal you. And then you eat the food. Well, that makes sense. We're energizing everything with our intention and with our attention. So it makes sense that if you create like this little ritual, there you got your little ham and cheese sandwich, or you have your little whatever, your breakfast, and then you intend. And he was talking about something specific. I think it was like a headache or something. I think he had a headache and he didn't want to take aspirin. He said, I'll take care of it. I'll make my medicine. And that was when I said, how do you do that? So you take your food and you do a mantra. And you send your intention into that food, that food heal you. And in his case, he was doing it for a headache that he had. So this whole thing about energy and transference of energy and attention and vectoring is very important. And we can create a lot of magic. Can you imagine if we get people in the government who have training? I will set that protocol up for you, Trump. When I got hired with that mining contract, and I was studying to see where the holes were, because there's always holes someplace, I realized that everybody had different intentions. There were really older people working within the company, and their intention was to make it to the end and retire at some point. And then there were all the family members. They all had different intentions having to do with that particular uh, product, that particular situation that I was hired to work with. And I went, if we don't get everybody pointed in the same direction, we don't need any enemies. The enemy is within. And it is a lack of focused intention, one intention. So after a lot of discussions back and forth, we finally agreed, because everybody's intentions were different. So then, how do you get one intention? That the intention be that particular mine be miraculously prosperous for all. And everybody's version of miraculously prosperous was different. But if you take the intention to a high enough level, you can get that. And I also ordered one of Mateo Cuarón's music compositions, and I put a mantra on it and instructed everybody to have that on in the background so that they could be hearing that mantra all day long. I don't think a single one of them did it, but I knew that I needed to do that. And I also ordered a mandala, a Buddhist mandala, where the monks work for a week and they build this beautiful art, and then they brush it away with a feather to prove that nothing is permanent. But all the time that they're doing the mandala, they have focused intention. You have to tell them before they start the mandala, what is your intention? And my intention in this case, because of the family asked for it, had to do with the country, that the country be stable, which is sweet. The family was very sweet. Um, so there needs to be a protocol, and it should be also in the government. And there's no reason why not today, because none of this is something that a religious person could say, no, we can't do that. That's voodoo. It's not voodoo. It's the human mind and intention. Intention creates reality. In the Bible, it says a grain of faith and you can move a mountain. It's true. But better be paying attention, and you better know that the only thing you want to do right then is to move that mountain, and you can do it. So there we go. Let's go ahead and do a mantra. And we're going to do the mastery again. Even though I'm afraid to be a master of the other dimensions, I'm going to put all the words. Okay? Give me a second while I write it up. Oh. Oh. There we go. I didn't get to put the other dimensions, but I guess we can live miraculously be a master. Mastery has to do with that third eye, that symbol that everybody's so afraid of. Oh my God, conspiracy. Conspiracy for you to have the wisdom that you will have, augmented wisdom, when you actually stop being afraid of the third eye. Don't do the fluoride, but it's not the fluoride, believe me, that has it closed. A lot of it has to do with what they teach us in school. If they didn't teach you that, then it didn't exist. And if scientists didn't say that this is that way, you can't believe it, even if your own eyes saw it. Surest way to drive people crazy, surest way to get kids to shut down. So let's do 10 minutes of this, okay? And I don't know what mantra music I'm going to. The third eye. This is the one we need. Okay. Okay. Isn't that nice? Doesn't it feel good? If you feel better, if you feel less stressed, that means you're more able to vitalize your intentions. Now, here's the trick. Do you know what your intentions are? Do you know which intention you should spend more time vitalizing? Because it will make a huge difference for you. And do you understand that if people's intention is survival, the other intentions go to the back of the bus? So if you want to trip somebody up, such as my enemies are trying to trip me up, they try to put me in survival mode, where the behavior and the energizing is different than if you're not in survival mode. I guess that's why they have what they call false flag events. You throw everybody into survival mode. Everybody just wants to survive. And then somebody steps up and say, we're going to help you survive by passing this laws where we're going to take away your rights. But you know that it's for your survival. And because you're in survival mode, because you were put there before, you agree. So your intentions change, and they really change when you're frightened, which which is why it's going to be really nice to be able to live in this country and not be frightened. Because as I told the people that I told my story to in the 90s, I said, this that is happening to me, this is going to happen to your children. Of course, no, it went in one ear and out the other. So we will be back in 2 days. And let's see if we can't get off the subject of black magic. But meanwhile, this Cuban mafia group is doing black magic on me all the time. They can't possibly take me to court or Baker Act me because I'm talking about the Cuban political mafia, because in order to do that, they would have to say, we are the Cuban political mafia and we don't like what you're saying about us. I don't think they're going to do that. Anyway, it was good being here with you, okay? And try the mantras even when you're not here listening to our chat or podcast. Thank you.